what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
I'm with the band. Music and interviews you're going to like.
Hello and welcome to I'm with the Band here on the Mesh Podcast Network. I am your host, Andrew Moose. I'm with the Band, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, invites musicians and bands of all types onto the show to discuss their current projects, their touring lives or not touring lives in this time we're living in, and their lives as musicians. This episode of I'm with the Band is produced in partnership with the No Contact Concert Series, Codex Sound, and Midwood Entertainment. More about that later. If you're considering advertising on the Mesh Podcast Network, it's a low-cost option to reach a targeted audience. And I've heard the only people who listen to podcasts have a bunch of money and all they want to do is spend it with your business. So if you will, send us an email at info@themesh.tv and we can get you guys sorted out on that. Today, we are currently podcasting away from the beautiful Mesh Studios in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, and currently living through the COVID-19 pandemic. Codex Sound and Midwood, the fellows that I mentioned earlier, are putting on the No Contact series, which helps bands and fans interact with one another via the World Wide Web. And my guests today on I'm with the Band are playing the No Contact concert series this Saturday, May 16th at 8 p.m. I'd like to welcome to I'm with the Band Hank Smith and Pattie Hopkins from Hank, Pattie, and the Currents. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Just a few quick stats and facts about Hank and Pattie and the Currents. Their most recent album, Rise Above, is on sale on all streaming platforms now. You can go to their website and buy it and all that good stuff. They're slated on the bill for later this fall for the Bristol Rhythm and Roots Festival. So with all this stuff going on, guys, how are you keeping busy? What's going on?
We have been recording videos for our Music Monday series, separately within our own homes using our iPhones to get the video and a website called BandLab to get the audio, which is made by the same company that makes SoundCloud. So it's web-based multi-tracking, and we established a band account with BandLab, which is free to sign up. And we just go in there in projects and overdub, our parts for the songs. And we've been actually coming up with new material in all of this as well.
Oh, that's killer. I've talked to a bunch of bands during this time, and it seems like everybody's trying to migrate to that online platform. Pattie, we talked offline, and you said that you're actually doing online lessons with students now?
That's right. Obviously, they're not going to be, traveling or coming into the house. So I have a private studio here in my home. So we've had pretty good luck here with the Zoom platform. We can even play together if they mute on their end and share screens. And it's kind of new for them. So I think everything's going great so far.
Awesome. This whole thing that we're going through is just new to everybody, and we're just trying to get used to it. And, and I think a lot of bands in particular are really using the technology that we have available to us to dive into it and kind of take the bull by the horns, if you will, and just do what we can. The platform that Hank was talking about sounds like it'd be great just to do anything from rehearsing to recording, all that stuff. Your new album, Rise Above, tell me, how long has that been out? Where'd you guys do the recording on that?
We recorded that last spring, last March, I guess, at Hondo Creek Studios in Pittsburgh, which is Wes Lashow design, same as Manifold, which is a big studio here in Electric Ladyland in New York, actually. So we did the album in a weekend. Recorded everything basically live in the studio, overdubbed the vocals, and then released it in June of last year officially.
Yeah, it's really cool. I got a chance to put ears on it when we confirmed the podcast, and you guys did great work there. It's like songs of all different types of. I feel like there's all kinds of genres on that album. There's Americana, there's bluegrass, there's singer songwriter stuff. So how do you guys go about writing songs? Is it a collaborative process? Is there a primary songwriter in the band? How does that work?
Well, it's been pretty collaborative. I think, we come from such diverse backgrounds musically. Um, and there's such a wide range of American music out there. We've had, with all the technology growing up and being exposed to so many different kinds of genres, I think we all just, lay our part. Hank and I write tunes together a lot. Wouldn't you say, Hank? A lot of the
Yeah,
tunes
that's right.
um, we do collaborate, and then our members also bring bring their tunes to the table as well.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I was reading an article about the jam band Humphreys McGee and how they do songwriting, and they equated it to building with Legos. So part of their band, they bring different parts, and then they slam them all together and create one track, and it works pretty good for them. And that's just one band that I draw inspiration from in my musical endeavors. But what do you guys? What bands or musicians in particular do you guys draw inspiration from, or are out right now that you guys would like to share with our listeners?
Oh man, we could fill up a
Yeah.
whole podcast just talking about that. For me personally, I have a teacher and mentor and friend in the form of a guy named Jens Kruger from the Kruger brothers, and he, in the last few years, he and I have become very close, and he's kind of shown me the way as far as composition and that kind of stuff goes in a way that I wasn't actively tapping into before. And he's a huge influence of also, no, I'm not trying to name drop by any means, but it is relevant, but have in the recent years, in the last couple of years, oddly enough, made friends with Bela Fleck, which has been pretty cool, considering my 25-year obsession with his music. And anything he does is solid gold as far as I'm concerned. But any non-banjo stuff, we are always looking for cool new things. This past week, honestly, Thundercat dropped a new album, and that is awesome. His last album, Drunk, was really good, but this one is fantastic. And
Man, Thundercat's one of my favorites. That Them Changing song that he put out I think it was last year, man.
Yeah,
the
one
single,
of my favorites. Just fantastic. And so, like, there's a song on that album that as soon as I heard it, I was like, banjo version. We got to have it. Like, we got to do that. But
right on.
We draw inspiration and influence from all kinds of things. You just never know. There's been kind of a running joke in this band about how inspiration comes from odd places, and you never know what's going to inspire something. So, for example, in our song "Hold Your Head Up High," I wrote the music and Pattie wrote the words. Lyrically, subject matter wise, it's a sad song. It's kind of a tearjerker. It certainly was when we recorded it. But the main hook in that tune, when it starts up, is borrowed from the cut scenes in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when they open up the little doors to the Advent house. If you listen to the track and then listen to that little bit side by side, you'll know exactly where it came from. So you just never know. Pattie has a wide range of influences in her playing as well.
I do. I was brought up kind of on classical violin, and living in the South, being exposed to fiddle music and primarily bluegrass really drew me in, especially when I met my husband, because he comes from a traditional bluegrass family. So, growing up listening to the great violinists too, like starting Suzuki by ear. I had my influences were my educators, Joanne Bath here in Greenville, who brought this violin method to the Americas, and listening to people like, Itzhak Perlman and Yehudi Menuhin and the great classical violinists. And then I fell in love with people like Bobby Hicks that played with Bill Monroe, who's out there in Asheville, near Asheville, in Western North Carolina, and Aubrey Haney, and studied, went to fiddle camps, Mark O'Connor fiddle camps, and, really fell in love with the fiddle. So as far as my instrumental side, that's sort of very opposite, wide range spectrum there.
The way that bluegrass is being produced and put out right now, there is so many different genres that get piled in with bluegrass that makes the bluegrass sound just so different than what it used to be, say back, in the 50s with Bill Monroe or something like that. That's it's just so much different. How do you think the way that bluegrass has changed in the last 10 years even has progressed the genre?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Hank and I love a good barn burner. Like we love that blazing bluegrass at 160. And
Yeah,
the dear old Dixies of the world and things like that, the banjo fiddle tunes. But I'll be honest with you. We've had multiple people approach us and say, I never liked bluegrass, or I didn't think I liked bluegrass, but I really like y'all. So
right.
I mean, it's changed a lot. You get, banjo and fiddle music has re-entered the mainstream in a way that it wasn't quite to the level before, with bands like the Avett Brothers and Mumford and Sons, and to a lesser extent bands like the Punch Brothers, and all of that combined has completely changed the landscape in terms of the exposure of that kind of music to a more mainstream audience. Steve Martin's had a lot to do with that, but in terms of the evolution of the music itself, I think in general, people are more willing to experiment and kind of genre bend a little bit. There are definitely a handful of bands out there, younger bands. I don't mean like old school, old people bands, but younger bands that are trying to recapture sort of a throwback sound to the old Stanley Brothers or Flatt and Scruggs from the 40s and 50s. But then there are bands like the Punch Brothers and so on and so forth that are pushing the boundaries as far as they can go. And so we sort of do a little of both. Like, we're always looking to evolve and incorporate all of these different influences into our own playing and composition. But like Pattie mentioned, we're still pretty rooted in bluegrass. Pattie started out playing classical violin and moved into bluegrass, and I started out playing bluegrass and moved into classical music. So we the Venn diagram has a lot of overlap.
We like
Sure.
to say that we met in the middle.
I think there's a lot of bluegrass artists that are like that that maybe have started into at one genre and melded into another. I know I saw an article and watched videos about Billy Strings and what he's doing right now. Basically he's playing metal. Like that is he is playing metal and with bluegrass instruments, and it is awesome. Like it is going in all kinds of directions. So
you mentioned Humphreys McGee earlier, and they're a metal band to me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, completely. And I saw Billy Strings and Humphreys play the same bill together in Nashville pretty recently. So that's how genres are being built or being bended almost onto the same bill. So it's something to behold right now. So we're going to break away and listen to Hank, Pattie, and the Currents, a song from their most recent album, Rise Above. The song is called Where We Are.
Dark shadow rises over me, fills my heart with hate. Knowing that you left behind, I feel to no escape. Waiting for you to come home, see my child again. The waves wash over me, how much consumed by hate. Where we are, rise above, knowing you, knowing love. Where we are, down below, based on our days grow cold. Dark shadow rises over me, fills my soul with angst. Knowing that you won't come home, but never give me thanks. We will meet again one day, this promise I've made. In dreams awake, I reach to you, but now we are walked away. Now we all must change.
Online performances are starting to become the norm. And Pattie mentioned the Music Monday earlier in the podcast. Tell me, what are you guys doing with that, and how can folks listen to that?
Well, we just came up, when all this was starting, we really wanted to be able to play for people, and that was online. So we created Music Mondays, where we release a video every Monday. And sometimes it's a demo of some new material that people have never heard before. Sometimes it's existing material. We release it on Facebook and Instagram as well as YouTube.
Awesome. And one of those songs you shared with me, tell us a little bit about Windmills.
The Windmills was written by our guitar player, Miss Billy Feather, who's in Durham, North Carolina. And she brought this tune to the table, and we fell in love with it and thought it would be a great fit for this band. She also wrote a string arrangement for it. So in this particular version that you will hear, I'm playing 3 violins, a viola part, and our bass player is playing the cello and the bass part.
That's awesome. And we're going to hear that version right now. So here is Hank, Pattie, and the Currents, Windmills, from their most recent Music Monday.
Should have left you in the airport, left breathless by your wall, late connection. You might have missed it all, or maybe a train that took us from Brussels through the countryside. But then again, I'd keep your whispers from that night. Windmills and endless days, when the sun never set, we were just getting started. Pray to June and all the other saints. Forgive me, I have sinned, and it's just the beginning. Summer rain, the night that your matted hair, that painted light, danced on your back in the wooden floor on every hotel bed. I rest my head on your shoulder and cry. Should've left you in that alley. I brought fire escape when you finally told me you were coming back to stay. Windmills and endless days, when the sun never steps, we were just getting started. Pray that you and all the other saints give me a sin, and it's just the beginning. Windmills and endless days, when the sun never sets, we were just getting started. Pray that you and all the other saints give me a sin, and it's just the beginning.
So, guys, we like to end the podcast with I wouldn't say a rapid fire question, but just a few questions that we found that our listeners really like to hear about. What are your favorite venues to play in North and South Carolina, guys?
We like our local venues here. We're like Fletcher Theater, the Lincoln Theater, the Poorhouse are always favorites. We've been playing a lot of performing arts center venues like the Reeves Theater up in Elkins and places like that, proper theaters, because we sometimes play with string quartets. We have a ton of string quartet arrangements for our music. And I think that we like the sit-down theater performing arts centers the best.
Yeah, those venues tend to have a great audience. They're people that are come specifically to hear music, and that's just really turns musicians on. And we appreciate those venues that are like that allow really good live music experiences for fans. And
Pattie,
so
what do you
shout out
think?
to all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the closed environment and the attention to detail, being in a theater of some sorts, we love, adding the strings with us, and that kind of environment, I think, really appeals to people and speaks to people.
On Saturday, when you guys play the No Contact concert series, are we going to be lucky enough to see a string quartet with you, or is it just going to be the 4 or 5 of you?
I'm not sure if our governor would approve that. What do you think, Hank?
No.
That's also true. I didn't even think about that.
It's called No Contact,
Yeah.
not some contact. String quartet. It'll just be
medium contact series.
That's right, and it'll just be the 4 of us.
We appreciate you guys coming on to I'm With the Band today. You can catch Hank, Pattie, and The Current on the No Contact concert series this Saturday on crowd-less.com, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So I'd like to thank again Hank Smith and Pattie Hopkins from Hank, Pattie, and The Current for coming on to I'm With the Band today here on The Mesh. We'd love for you guys to head over to themesh.tv and check out all of our other shows on the network. We're going to leave you today with Hank, Pattie, and The Current song Bay of Smoke. Please be well, be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Hank and Pattie, thanks again.
Thanks so much for having us.
Andrew.
You guys take care.
Thanks.
listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.